that beautiful flowering plant you admired at the garden center could land you in legal trouble, and the innocent-looking cactus on your windowsill might be classified as a controlled substance. Thousands of gardeners across America are unknowingly breaking laws every day, growing plants they assume are perfectly legal simply because they're sold openly or look decorative. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss episodes where we explore the surprising and controversial in American gardening. I appreciate you being here, and if this helps you avoid legal headaches, drop a like to help other gardeners find this video. Let's start with something that might be growing as a weed along your fence line right now. Datura stramonium, commonly called Jimson weed or devil's trumpet, produces stunning white or purple trumpet-shaped flowers that open at dusk with an intoxicating fragrance. This plant contains powerful alkaloids including scopolamine and atropine, the same compounds in pharmaceutical drugs for motion sickness and pupil dilation. While not federally controlled, several states have enacted restrictions on Datura because of its extreme toxicity and history of causing severe poisonings, hallucinations, and deaths when people mistake it for edible or recreational plants. The entire plant is poisonous from roots to seeds, and even handling it can cause skin reactions. Datura grows wild across the United States, thriving in disturbed soil, abandoned lots, and agricultural edges from the southeast through the southwest. It's remarkably hardy, tolerating heat, drought, and poor soil. What makes Datura particularly dangerous is that it looks exotic and beautiful, leading curious gardeners or foragers to investigate, sometimes with tragic consequences. Children have been hospitalized after playing with seed pods, and teenagers seeking cheap highs have ended up in emergency rooms experiencing terrifying delirium lasting days. Some states require property owners to remove Datura near schools or public areas. Seeds remain viable in soil for years, so new plants sprout even after removing mature ones. Despite its dangers, Datura has been used ceremonially by indigenous cultures for thousands of years, though always under strict guidance. Have you ever seen these striking flowers growing wild and wondered what they were? Moving to something you might deliberately cultivate, the San Pedro cactus looks like a harmless addition to your succulent collection. Echinopsis pachanoi is a tall columnar cactus native to the Andes, but suited to the American Southwest, Southern California, and even indoors in colder climates. This cactus contains mescaline, the same psychoactive compound in peyote, yet its legal status exists in a bizarre gray area. Federal law doesn't prohibit cultivating San Pedro ornamentally, and you can buy these cacti openly at nurseries nationwide. Illegality kicks in only if you prepare or consume it for psychoactive effects, making it possession of a Schedule I controlled substance. The plant itself isn't illegal, but your intent could be. San Pedro is beautiful, with ribbed green columns reaching 20 feet tall over years, producing large white flowers blooming at night with sweet, coconut-like fragrance. It's remarkably easy to grow, requiring well-draining soil, minimal water, and plenty of sun. Many cactus collectors grow San Pedro alongside other Echinopsis species purely for ornamental value, never considering mescaline content. The plant propagates easily from cuttings, often traded at Cactus Society meetings between enthusiasts appreciating the architectural beauty. In traditional Andean culture, San Pedro has been used ceremonially for over 3,000 years. Here in the United States, possession with intent to consume carries the same consequences as possessing synthesized mescaline. Are you surprised that such a commonly sold ornamental exists in legal limbo? Now let's talk about something that isn't even a plant but causes similar legal headaches. Amanita muscaria, the iconic red mushroom with white spots from fairy tales and video games, grows wild across North America, particularly in Pacific Northwest and Northeast forests. This mushroom inspired Alice in Wonderland imagery and countless cultural references to magical toadstools. Amanita muscaria contains psychoactive compounds including muscimol and ibotenic acid, producing effects from euphoria and altered perception to nausea and confusion. While possession and sale are prohibited in Louisiana and potentially restricted elsewhere, federal law doesn't specifically control it like psilocybin mushrooms. This creates a gray area where the mushroom isn't universally illegal, but preparing it for consumption or selling it as psychoactive crosses legal lines. Mushrooms fruit in late summer and fall beneath pine, spruce, birch, and fir trees, where they form symbiotic root relationships. You cannot cultivate Amanita muscaria like garden vegetables because they require specific tree partnerships and forest conditions, but they may fruit naturally in wooded areas if suitable trees are present. What surprises people is that Amanita muscaria has been used traditionally in Siberian shamanic practices, though preparation methods were crucial to reduce toxicity. Its iconic appearance makes it instantly recognizable, and foragers sometimes collect them without understanding legal implications. In states where they're restricted, possessing dried Amanita muscaria can result in consequences similar to other controlled substances. Do you think naturally occurring fungi should face the same restrictions as cultivated plants? Here's where things shift from individual toxicity to ecological catastrophe, because some plants are illegal not because they harm you directly, but because they destroy entire ecosystems. Water hyacinth might be one of the most beautiful aquatic plants you'll ever see, with gorgeous lavender flowers and glossy green leaves floating on water, creating a carpet of blooms. Eichhornia crassipes is also one of the most destructive invasive species on the planet, banned in Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, California, and several other states. This plant was introduced during the 1884 Cotton Exposition in New Orleans as an ornamental curiosity, and it's been choking waterways ever since. Water hyacinth reproduces at an alarming rate, doubling its population in as little as 2 weeks, forming dense mats that block sunlight, deplete oxygen, and kill fish and aquatic life. These mats stop boat traffic, clog water intake pipes, and create perfect mosquito breeding grounds. In warm southern states, it thrives year-round, spreading through connected waterways and requiring millions in annual control efforts. The plant produces long feathery roots dangling in water, and while delicate-looking, each plant is remarkably resilient, surviving in clean lakes or polluted ditches. What's frustrating is that water hyacinth is still sometimes sold online or at garden centers that don't realize it's prohibited, and unsuspecting pond owners introduce it thinking they're adding beauty. Once established, mechanical removal is extremely difficult because any small fragment can regenerate. Chemical control requires repeated applications and can harm other aquatic species. Some states have introduced weevils and other insects as biological control agents. If you have a backyard pond and you're tempted by this plant's beauty, resist completely, because the consequences aren't worth it. Have you ever battled an invasive species that seemed impossible to control? Moving from water to land, let's talk about the plant that famously ate the South. Kudzu, Pueraria montana var. Lobata was intentionally introduced from Japan in the late 1800s and actively promoted during the Dust Bowl era as erosion control. The Soil Conservation Service even paid farmers to plant it. Fast forward to today, and kudzu covers over 7 million acres, earning the nickname the vine that ate the South. Kudzu can grow up to a foot per day during summer, smothering everything including trees, buildings, power lines, and entire forests. The vines kill trees by blocking sunlight and adding weight that breaks branches and snaps trunks. It's now illegal to plant kudzu in many states, and property owners are often required to control it. The plant thrives in warm, humid southeast conditions from Texas to Florida and up through Virginia, though climate change allows it to creep northward. Kudzu produces fragrant purple flowers in late summer, smelling like grape soda, and forms massive tuberous roots weighing hundreds of pounds, extending deep into soil. These roots make eradication incredibly difficult because even after removing visible vines, roots can resprout. Some have tried marketing kudzu as food, animal fodder, or fiber for paper, but these efforts haven't dented its spread. Cultural practices in Asia have used kudzu root for food and medicine, but in America, it's purely destructive. Interestingly, kudzu struggles in cold winters or dry climates, which is why it hasn't invaded the entire country. If you live in kudzu territory, you've probably seen entire hillsides draped in these vines, creating surreal green landscapes. What's the most aggressive plant you've dealt with in your own garden? Now let's discuss something even more insidious because most people have never heard of it. Kogong grass, Imparatus cylindrica, is considered one of the top 10 worst weeds in the entire world, spreading across the southern United States at an alarming rate. This perennial grass is on the federal noxious weed list, meaning it's illegal to import, sell, or transport across state lines. And many states have additional regulations prohibiting cultivation. Kogong grass was accidentally introduced to Alabama from Asia in the early 1900s, likely as packing material, and it's now found in 23 states from the Carolinas to Texas and north to Tennessee. What makes Kogong grass particularly dangerous is that it outcompetes native plants, provides no wildlife food value, increases wildfire intensity because it's highly flammable, and forms dense stands that completely transform ecosystems. The grass produces sharp leaf blades with serrated edges that can cut skin, and it grows from extensive underground rhizomes that spread rapidly and are nearly impossible to kill. A single plant can produce 3,000 wind-dispersed seeds, and rhizomes regenerate from tiny fragments, meaning tilling or mowing actually spreads it further. Farmers hate Kogong grass because cattle won't eat it due to low nutritional value and sharp leaves, and it invades pastures, reducing grazing land. Foresters consider it a serious threat because it prevents tree seedlings from establishing and dramatically increases fire risk in pine forests. The grass thrives in disturbed soils along roadsides and ditches and on forest edges, but also invades established landscapes. Control requires years of persistent effort using specific herbicides applied at precise times, and even then, eradication is rarely achieved. Some states require property owners to report and control cogon grass infestations, with penalties for noncompliance. The grass looks deceptively innocent, forming white, fluffy seed heads in spring that blow in the breeze. But underneath, it's building an underground network spreading for acres. Are you familiar with what cogon grass looks like? And would you recognize it if it appeared on your property? Let me tell you about something that seems completely innocent until you understand its destructive power. Japanese knotweed looks like attractive ornamental bamboo with heart-shaped leaves and delicate white flowers, but it's one of the most damaging invasive plants in North America. This plant spreads through underground rhizomes that penetrate concrete foundations, asphalt driveways, and damage building structures, which is why it's banned or heavily regulated in Pennsylvania, New York, and throughout New England. Japanese knotweed can grow 10 feet tall in a single season, and its rhizomes extend 20 feet horizontally and 10 feet deep, making eradication nearly impossible without professional intervention, costing tens of thousands. Once established, even tiny root fragments can regenerate into new plants, which is why improper removal often worsens the problem. In the United Kingdom, mortgage lenders sometimes refuse to finance properties with Japanese knotweed infestations because of structural damage potential, and similar concerns are growing in the United States. The plant tolerates any conditions, from full sun to shade, wet to dry soil, thriving in disturbed areas along roadsides, riverbanks, and abandoned properties. Many homeowners inherit Japanese knotweed with property purchases and are legally obligated to control it even though they didn't plant it. In some jurisdictions, allowing it to spread onto neighboring properties can result in lawsuits and financial liability. Herbicide treatments must be repeated over multiple years, and physical removal requires excavating several feet of soil to ensure all rhizome fragments are removed. Do you know whether Japanese knotweed is present in your area? Now here's something that's not just illegal, but genuinely dangerous to human health. Giant hogweed, Heracleum mantegazzianum, is a towering plant reaching 15 feet tall with umbrella-like white flower clusters spanning 2 feet across. This plant contains toxic furanocoumarins in its sap, which cause severe skin reactions when exposed to sunlight, resulting in painful blisters, burns, and scarring lasting years. Even brief sap contact followed by sun exposure can send people to hospitals with second and third-degree burns. Giant hogweed is spreading across the Northeast, Pacific Northwest, and parts of the Midwest, and many states made it illegal to plant, sell, or transport, with mandatory reporting requirements if discovered on your property. The plant thrives along streams, rivers, roadsides, and disturbed areas, producing tens of thousands of seeds per plant that remain viable for years. Children are particularly at risk because they're attracted to massive leaves and hollow stems that seem perfect for making forts, not realizing they're playing with a botanical hazard. State agriculture departments often organize eradication programs when giant hogweed is discovered, sending crews and protective equipment to remove plants before they seed. The plant looks similar to native species, including cow parsnip and angelica, causing confusion and misidentification. If you think you found giant hogweed, do not touch it and report it immediately to your local agricultural extension office. Have you ever encountered a plant that caused an unexpected skin reaction? Moving to something you might deliberately choose for your landscape, certain bamboo types are actually illegal or restricted in numerous municipalities because of property damage potential. Running bamboo varieties spread through aggressive underground rhizomes that invade neighboring properties, crack foundations, damage septic systems, and create impenetrable thickets that are nightmarishly expensive to remove. Cities and counties from Portland to Connecticut have ordinances specifically prohibiting planting running bamboo or requiring special containment barriers extending at least 30 inches deep. What makes bamboo particularly problematic is that many gardeners plant it for privacy screening without understanding the difference between clumping varieties, which stay contained, and running varieties, which spread dozens of feet from the original planting. Species like Philostachys aureosulcata, yellow groove bamboo, are cold hardy enough to survive northern climates and aggressive enough to take over entire yards within years. Some municipalities have made property owners legally liable for bamboo spreading onto neighboring land, with lawsuits where homeowners paid tens of thousands for professional removal from adjacent properties. The plant is remarkably beautiful, with graceful canes swaying in the breeze, and it grows incredibly fast, providing privacy almost instantly. Before planting any bamboo, research your municipality's regulations, verify whether your variety is clumping or running, and consider whether you're willing to install proper rhizome barriers. Are there plants in your neighborhood that have caused disputes between neighbors? Here's something that really surprised me because we're talking about beloved fruit trees. Citrus trees are heavily regulated in California, Florida, and Texas due to citrus greening disease, also known as Huanglongbing, which has devastated commercial groves worth billions. In some counties, you cannot legally plant new citrus trees or transport citrus plants across county lines without permits and inspections. The disease is spread by the Asian citrus psyllid, and home gardeners who ignore quarantine regulations can inadvertently spread the pathogen to nearby commercial operations. In parts of California, homeowners with existing citrus must report symptoms of citrus greening and may face removal orders if trees are infected. What makes this difficult is that citrus trees are beloved backyard staples in warm regions, with Meyer lemons, kumquats, and navel oranges especially popular. The regulations aren't about prohibiting citrus entirely, but preventing disease spread through strict movement controls and inspections. Similarly, certain stone fruit varieties are restricted where plumpox virus has been detected, and grapes may have movement restrictions in regions battling Pierce's disease. Agricultural officials take these regulations seriously because home gardens can serve as disease reservoirs infecting commercial crops, with economic impacts running into billions annually. Many gardeners are unaware these rules exist until they attempt to purchase trees or receive notices from agricultural inspectors. The challenge is that citrus greening symptoms can take years to appear, and by the time you notice yellowing leaves and misshapen fruit, the disease has likely already spread. Have you checked whether your fruit trees comply with local agricultural quarantine regulations? Here's where things get really interesting because this next one is sometimes sold as a houseplant. Salvia divinorum, known as diviner's sage, contains salvinorin A, one of the most potent naturally occurring hallucinogens, And while not federally controlled, many states have banned its cultivation and possession. States including Delaware, Florida, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Virginia have specific laws against salvia, while it remains legal elsewhere, creating confusing regulations. The plant is beautiful, with large light green leaves and attractive blue flowers, growing well as a houseplant or in outdoor gardens in humid, warm climates. It's native to Oaxaca cloud forests, requiring similar conditions and doing poorly in dry air or direct sun. This plant rarely produces viable seeds and is propagated through cuttings, meaning nearly all specimens are clones. Many gardeners grow salvia species ornamentally, but diviner's sage stands apart legally. In prohibited states, even having it as an ornamental can cause legal trouble. Before adding any salvia to your collection, verify both the species and your state's laws. What other common house plants might have legal restrictions? Cat, Catha edulis, is an evergreen shrub whose leaves contain stimulant compounds similar to amphetamines. In the United States, cat is a Schedule I controlled substance, making cultivation and possession illegal federally. The plant would thrive in Southern California, Florida, and Hawaii, growing as an attractive hedge with glossy green leaves and small white flowers. What's interesting is that active compounds degrade within 48 hours of harvest, which is why fresh leaves are traditionally preferred and must be transported quickly. Law enforcement has intercepted cat shipments at airports serving communities with East African and Yemeni immigrants, where traditional use continues despite prohibition. The plant grows as a dense shrub reaching 10 to 20 feet tall if unpruned. For gardeners collecting rare tropicals, cat might seem interesting botanically, but possession carries the same penalties as other controlled substances. Have you considered how many plants are illegal purely because of their cultural uses elsewhere? Now let me share something that might shock you. Peyote cactus, Lophophora williamsi, contains mescaline and is federally classified as a controlled substance, making cultivation illegal except for registered Native American church members in religious ceremonies. This small spineless cactus is native to the Chihuahuan Desert and grows in hot, arid southwest regions. The cactus looks like a small blue-green button at soil level, sometimes clustering into colonies. Peyote grows extremely slowly, taking 7 to 10 years to reach maturity. In nature, peyote populations have declined dramatically due to overharvesting, making it endangered in some areas. Despite conservation concerns, growing it remains prohibited, and possession can result in serious federal charges. Some succulent collectors acquire peyote unknowingly through trades, not realizing they possess a Schedule Y controlled substance. Are you aware of how many other cacti have legal restrictions? Coca plants, Erythroxylum coca, grow in southern Florida, Hawaii, and greenhouses, which is why they're federally prohibited. This is the source of cocaine, and there are no exceptions for ornamental cultivation without DEA registration. The plant is an attractive evergreen shrub with glossy oval leaves and small yellowish flowers. Even possessing coca seeds can be illegal, and importing plants results in confiscation and prosecution. What surprises people is that coca leaves naturally contain only tiny alkaloid amounts and require extensive chemical processing to produce cocaine, yet the plant remains absolutely forbidden. Coca-Cola holds one of the only legal licenses to import coca leaves, processed to remove cocaine at a single New Jersey facility under tight oversight. Have you ever wondered how many everyday products contain ingredients from plants that are otherwise illegal to grow? I saved the ones that will surprise you least but matter most for last. Opium poppy, Papaver somniferum, produces those culinary seeds on bagels and also happens to be the source of morphine, codeine, and heroin. Federal law prohibits growing opium poppies, and while enforcement against home gardeners with a few ornamental specimens is rare, it's technically illegal regardless of intent. The stunning flowers come in purple, pink, red, and white, with dramatic dark centers and ruffled petals. These are not the orange California poppies growing wild across the West. Those are completely different and legal. The illegal varieties are typically large, showy types with smooth, blue-green foliage and seed pods like little pepper shakers. What's confusing is that many seed companies sell these openly, sometimes labeled as bred seed or ornamental poppies. Technically, possessing seeds isn't illegal, germinating them is. These poppies prefer cool weather, can be sown in fall or early spring, and reseed enthusiastically. They're unfussy, tolerating poor soil and needing minimal water. Do you think the ornamental value justifies the legal risk? Finally, we arrive at the plant everyone knows. Cannabis sativa, whether hemp or marijuana, exists in a complex legal landscape varying dramatically by location. While federal law now allows licensed hemp cultivation with THC below 0.3%, growing it without proper permits remains illegal in most states. The problem is that hemp and marijuana look identical until you test their chemistry, which means innocent growers could find themselves explaining the difference to law enforcement. Even in states where recreational marijuana is legal, you typically need specific licenses and must follow strict rules about plant counts, security, and where you grow. Many don't realize that even low THC hemp requires registration with state agriculture departments' background checks and regular inspections. Research your specific state and county regulations first, because what's legal in Colorado might get you arrested in Idaho. The plant thrives across most of the continental United States, but its legal status creates a minefield varying county by county. One fascinating detail is that industrial hemp was actually mandated in colonial Virginia, with farmers required by law to grow it in the 1600s for rope and textiles. Have you ever considered the irony that a plant once required by law is now prohibited without special permission? Walking through everything we've covered today, from toxic Jimson weed and psychoactive cacti to ecosystem-destroying invasives like kudzu and water hyacinth, from property-damaging bamboo and Japanese knotweed to disease-carrying citrus trees, and finally, to the controlled substances everyone expects like poppies and cannabis, it becomes clear that the line between legal and illegal gardening is far more complex than most realize. What strikes me most is that these restrictions exist for genuinely important reasons, whether protecting public health, preserving native ecosystems, safeguarding commercial agriculture, or preventing property damage. Yet many gardeners remain completely unaware until facing consequences. The plants themselves are often beautiful, useful, or historically significant, which makes prohibitions feel counterintuitive, but understanding the reasoning helps us make informed decisions. Gardening connects us to the earth, provides food security and beauty, supports pollinators and wildlife, and offers therapeutic benefits. These incredible benefits make it all the more important that we garden responsibly and legally. Before you add anything new to your garden, research whether it's legal in your specific location, checking federal, state, county, and municipal regulations. Which of these restricted plants surprised you most? And have you ever unknowingly grown something prohibited? If you found this helpful, share it with other gardeners who might not know about these restrictions. And subscribe so you catch our next episode exploring legal alternatives without regulatory headaches. Happy gardening, and may your garden always be both beautiful and legally compliant.